Good morning, traders. So how do we trade the DAX today? So the sell-off did continue yesterday, and there are a couple of things which I just want to point out. So the first one is, obviously, we did break through this level, we consolidated, and we broke the downside. So we just look at the measured move here. So I pointed this one out yesterday. This measured move took place and happened. Okay, profit taking happened there. And then we had another measured move pretty much from there to there. And that target has still not been realized. Okay. There is also so there was a little head and shoulders here. You can see shoulder, head, shoulder. And that measured move has pretty much almost played out at the moment. Okay, so the one that most traders are watching at the moment is this big weekly head and shoulder. So you can see here is a shoulder, here is a head, and here is a shoulder. Now, until we break below that level there of 11,700, I'm really not interested in looking at this weekly head and shoulders. Okay, so one thing that we have had is we've had an inside bar and follow through on the weekly. We've had 3 red weeklies in a row. And if you look at the data, there was another 3 in a row there. And hasn't been 3 red in a row for quite some time. So, yeah, there's a lot of turmoil happening in Europe, and I suppose it's evident in the chart at the moment. Let's just get down to the levels that we can trade, and that would be the half hour to start with for me. Okay, so the start of yesterday was very topsy-turvy. So for the first, what's this, 1, 2, 3, for the first 3 hours of trading yesterday, there was really no direction. We had tails to top, tails to bottom, and as I pointed out yesterday, we were looking for a break of either the high of the day before or the low of the day before for us to get some direction, and we got the break to the downside and we accelerated. Okay, but I just want to point out on the 12 minutes, things start becoming a little clearer. So we gap below the 20 and the 200 moving average. So 20 is the midline of the Bollinger, and you've got the 200 EMA here. You can see this rejection bar off the 200. Now, that is kind of like a big slap in the face for the bulls. So the bulls were kind of getting control, and then the bears started selling pretty much off that level there. Okay, the minute we hit 12,427, they started selling, and you can see that was your first signal. We then pulled up, and then here was your second signal, which is engulfing. So this area here was your short, below the 20, below the 200, bouncing off the 20. Take the short, put your stop up there. It's a 50-point stop loss, and look what you had, 250 points to the downside. Okay, so that was a fairly solid trade to take. And there's no reason to get out of this until pretty much you either cross over the 20 like this, or alternatively, the minute you start hitting the bottom levels, which is what we did do. If you look to the left here, you'll see you had, just take it on this inside bar here, and you'll see price bounced right off there. Okay, and the reason why I take this inside bar is because we have a tail here. So I look 1 bar further for a tail, and there it is. So that's the one I'm looking for. Okay, anyway, so that is kind of where we are at the moment. So we do have a move, consolidation, and second move to the downsides. And we're on a major level at the moment. And this level, if I am correct, is a monthly level as well. So you can see 1, 2, and then you've got the previous high here as well. So there's definitely a level. The thing that you can see on the monthly, you can see pin bar, and then engulfing green, engulfing red. So a lot of indecision happening at the moment. Okay, so what are we going to do today? So I would expect us to start looking for support, and this would be a good area to look for support. And I don't think there is. I just want to double check it. We don't have something a little bit lower, because that's normally the case. So I'm going to move this one up. We'll just cover that tail there, and I don't think we'll see anything else. Oh, there's a gap here. Okay, so we still have this gap. Okay, so if we just get to that level there, so we've got a gap quite far down. Price is sitting over here at the moment, pretty close to the gap. And then we also have this breakout here. Okay, so what does that mean for us? I think let's just get rid of that, Let's leave that in because that is a breakout retest. So this is the zone that we're looking for some support to come into play. And our gap is the third line. So more than likely, if we do break below the second line, then that third line comes into play. So we are pretty close here. So let's just get a measurement here. Sorry, I just want to get to 12. And let's just see what we have here. Okay, so we have a 94-point probability to the downside. Okay, so if you look at it this way, we had a strong move to the downside, we're consolidating. So now what you're looking for is these fractional levels here to indicate direction. Okay, so I just want to have a look where the DAX is at the moment. DAX futures is sitting at 12,200. So we are pretty much on this fractional level here. Okay, so for me, this gap, which is sitting at 12,060, I would expect us to more than likely try and target that gap. Okay, so I'll be looking for price action to show us an entry somewhere around 12,060 or 1,200, and that would be an area for me to look at along to the upside. What we are going to be watching today on the 12 minutes is where this 20 moving average is. So if price can stay above the 20 like this, definitely indicating that we can start looking for the longs already. But I do suspect that we are going to come back down and create a double bottom. And the double bottom doesn't necessarily have to be directly in line. It can be slightly down. And you may find some diversions coming into play. So if we just have a look at this area here, you can already see not much diversions there, but you can see how everything's rolling at the moment. Okay, so and the 12 minutes indicating another move to the downside. You can see how we're starting to group and starting to look for a move to the downside. So we did have diversions here along this area. So yes, so I think for me it's going to be a case of looking for let's get back to the clean chart. It's going to be a case of looking for price action at the moment, either right where we are now, or alternatively we're coming down to that 12 12.060 around there. Okay, that's kind of where the gap is. I would expect us to try and target that at least. That may be the only move that we get today. So just a gradual slide to the downside here while we consolidated this area. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm looking at. This is a fairly big level. If we look at the daily, you can see how the buyers, just highlight this here, you can see how the buyers were stepping in previously at this level, and a lot of resistance to be found here as well. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. I'm expecting us to, even if it's a small bounce off this level, but I'm expecting us to bounce somewhere around here. Maybe close this gap first, okay, which would still be in line with these tails. So in other words, the red bar tail, and we're talking about the daily now, so the red bar tail down to the downside, and we bounce off this level, start looking for a turning point at this area. The critical thing is if we do break below here, it gives you a fairly large cup and handle here. So there's your cup, and there's your handle, and then you can start expecting that weekly head and shoulders could potentially play out. Okay, so most of this is geopolitical noise to do with Turkey at the moment, and we'll have to wait and see what happens today. But for me, it'll be 12 minutes chart again, and we will wait to see whether we have rejections off the 20 like this again, or whether we find some support in this area and start moving to the upside. I'm definitely watching this with bated breath, because anything around 12.060 will be an entry long for me, and we may have a short scalp from where we open down to close that gap, which would be around 100 points, which is a pretty solid trade on the DAX anyway. Anyway, so that's the DAX for me. Just watch this level and see what happens, but we are in a zone of support, so I would expect us to either go sideways or bounce a little bit before another attempt to break below the support. And last thing, we just want to close off, we are below the 200 moving average on the daily as well, so anything's possible, but this 200 is still not pointing to the downside. We're still very much flat, so which leads me to believe that we are going to find some kind of support here and move back to the upside. Okay, so that's my view on the DAX. Hope it helps, and enjoy the day. I'll catch up with you later. Cheers.